Roy Jones, Jr. is an American professional boxer, rapper and actor. As a professional, he has captured numerous world titles in the middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. He is the only boxer in history to start his career as a light middleweight and go on to win a heavyweight title. Jones left his mark in boxing history when he won the WBA Heavyweight title, becoming the first former middleweight champion to win a heavyweight title in 106 years. Jones was named Fighter of the Decade for the 1990s by the Boxing Writers Association of America. Boxing career, amateur career. Jones won the 1984 United States National Junior Olympics in the 119 lb weight division, the 1986 United States National Golden Gloves in the 139 lb division, and the 1987 United States National Golden Gloves in the 156 lb division. As an amateur, he ended his career with a 121-13 record. Jones represented the United States at the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games, where he won the silver medal. He dominated his opponents, never losing a single round en route to the final. His participation in the final was met with controversy when he lost a 3-2 decision to South Korean fighter Park Si-hun despite pummeling Park for 3 rounds, landing 86 punches to Park's 32. Allegedly, Park himself apologized to Jones afterward and the referee told Jones that he was dumbstruck by the judge's decision. One judge shortly thereafter admitted the decision was a mistake and all 3 judges voting against Jones were eventually suspended. An official IOC investigation ending in 1997 found that 3 of the judges had been wined and dined by South Korean officials. This led to calls for Jones to be awarded a gold medal, but the IOC still officially stands by the decision, despite the allegations. Jones was awarded the Val Barker Trophy as the best stylistic boxer of the 1988 Games, which was only the third and to this day the last time in the competition's history when the award did not go to one of the gold medal winners. The incident led Olympic organizers to establish a new scoring system for Olympic boxing. Professional career. On turning professional, he had already sparred with many professional boxers, including NABF champion Ronnie Assett, IBF champion Lindell Holmes and Sugar Ray Leonard. Jones began as a professional on May 6, 1989, knocking out Ricky Randall in 2 rounds in Pensacola at the Bayfront Auditorium. For his next fight, he faced the more experienced Stephen Johnson in Atlantic City, beating him by a knockout in round 8. Jones built a record of 15-0 with 15 knockouts before stepping up in class to meet former world welterweight champion Jorge Vaca in a pay-per-view fight on January 10, 1992. He knocked Vaca out in round 1 to reach 16 knockout wins in a row. After one more KO, Jones went the distance for the first time against future world champion Jorge Castro, winning a 10-round decision in front of a USA Network national audience. Roy Jones vs. Bernard Hopkins. Jones made his first attempt at a world title on May 22, 1993. He beat future undisputed middleweight champion Bernard Hopkins by unanimous decision in Washington, D.C. to capture the IBF middleweight championship. Jones claimed he had entered the bout with a broken right hand, but still managed to outpoint Hopkins and secure a unanimous decision win. Jones reminded the world of this claim on his hit single "Y'all Must Have Forgot" later in his career. While working for HBO as an analyst for Bernard Hopkins' title defense against Simon Brown, Jones would admit on air that he was 16 pounds heavier than Hopkins on fight night, weighing 180 to Hopkins' 163. For his next fight, he fought another future world champion, Fulane Sugarboy Malinga, in a non-title affair. Jones beat Malinga by knockout in 6 rounds. Jones finished the year with another win, beating Furman Quirino by decision. In 1994, Jones beat Danny Popeye Garcia by knockout in 6, then retained his IBF title against Thomas Tate in 2 rounds at Las Vegas on May 27. Roy Jones vs. James Toney. On November 18, 1994, he was set to face undefeated IBF super middleweight champion James Toney, who was ranked highly in the pound-for-pound rankings. Toney had remained undefeated in 46 bouts and was rated the best in the world at 168 pounds. billed as the Uncivil War, Tony vs. Jones was heavily hyped. Jones, for the first time in his career, was the underdog. Over the course of the 12-round unanimous decision, Jones demonstrated his greatness. He danced circles around Tony, landing quick combinations at will, scoring a flash knockdown in the third round. Ring magazine called Jones' performance the most dominant of any big fight in 20 years. Claims that Tony was badly unprepared and dehydrated would surface in the days following the fight. Tony himself would claim in an interview with the Ring magazine that he had taken laxatives and diuretics the day of the weigh-in to make weight. In 1995, Jones defended his super middleweight title successfully multiple times. He began the year by knocking out Antoine Bird in round 1. He faced former IBF lightweight champion Vinny Pazienza and defeated him in round 6. He then beat Tony Thornton in round 2 by KO. Career from 1996 to 2002. In 1996, Jones maintained his winning ways, defeating Merquise Souza by knockout in 2 and future world champion Eric Lucas in round 11. When he boxed Lucas, he became the first athlete to participate in 2 paid sports events on the same day. He had played a basketball game in the morning and defended his boxing title in Jacksonville, Florida that evening. He also held a press conference in the ring just before the fight, taking questions from a chair in the middle of the ring and defending his choice of Bryant Brannan as his opponent instead of Frankie Lyles, his nemesis from the amateurs. He then defeated Bryant Brannan in a round 2 TKO. Roy Jones vs. Mike McCallum. In November 1996 at Ice Palace, Tampa, Florida, Jones defeated 40-year-old former 3-weight world champion Mike McCallum via a shutout decision to win the vacant interim WBC light heavyweight title. Jones was soon upgraded to full champion by the WBC. Roy Jones vs. Montel Griffin 1 and 2. In 1997 Jones had his first professional loss, a disqualification against Montel Griffin. Griffin was trained by the legendary Eddie Futch, who had taught him how to take advantage of Jones' technical mistakes and lack of basic boxing fundamentals. Griffin jumped out to an early lead on Jones, but by round 9 Jones was ahead on the scorecards by a point and had Griffin on the canvas early in round 9. But as Griffin took a knee on the canvas to avoid further punishment, Jones hit him twice. Subsequently, Jones was disqualified and lost his title. Jones sought an immediate rematch and regained the world light heavyweight title easily, knocking Griffin down within the first 2 minutes 31 seconds of the fight, then ending the fight by knocking Griffin out just over 2 minutes in with a leaping left-hand shot. 1998 to Euro 2002. In 1998, Jones began by knocking out former light heavyweight and future cruiserweight champion Virgil Hill in 4 rounds at Biloxi, Mississippi with a huge right to the body that broke one of Hill's ribs. He followed that with a win against the WBA light heavyweight title holder, Puerto Rico's Lou Del Valle, by a decision in 12 on July 18, to unify the WBC and WBA belts. Jones had to climb off the canvas for the first time in his career, as he was dropped in round 8, but continued to outbox Del Valle throughout the rest of the fight and gained a unanimous decision. Jones then followed with a defense against Otis Grant. He retained the crown by knocking Grant out in 10 rounds. Jones began 1999 by knocking out the WBC number 1 ranked contender at the time, Rick Frazier. After this, many boxing critics started to criticize Jones for fighting overmatched mandatories who few had ever heard of, as well as his steadfast refusal to meet Darius Michalczewski in a unification bout. Jones answered these calls on June 5 of that year, when he beat the IBF title holder, Reggie Johnson, by a lopsided 12-round decision to add that belt to the WBC and WBA belts he already owned in the division. Jones dropped Johnson hard in the second round, but backed off and allowed Reggie to finish the fight. The year 2000 began with Jones easily beating the hard-punching David Telesco via a 12-round decision on January 15, at Radio City Music Hall to retain his titles. Jones reportedly fractured his wrist a few weeks before this fight and fought almost exclusively one-handed. He entered the ring surrounded by the famous group of dancers, the Rockettes. His next fight was also a first-time boxing event for a venue, as he traveled to Indianapolis and retained his title with an 11-round technical knockout over Richard Hall at the Conseco Fieldhouse. A post-fight drug test showed that both Jones and Hall tested positive for androstenedione, which was available legally over the counter at that time but banned by the IBF. The results of Jones' next two drug tests, which were negative, were sent to the Indiana Boxing Commission. The IBF chose not to take any action against Jones or Hall. Jones ended the year with a 10-round stoppage of undefeated Eric Harding in New Orleans. In 2001, Jones released Round 1, the album, a rap CD. That year he retained the title against Derek Harmon by a knockout in 10 and against future world champion Julio Carr copyright Zar Gonzalez of Mexico by a 12-round unanimous decision. In 2002, Jones retained his title by knocking out Glenn Kelly in 7 rounds. After this bout, Jones was controversially awarded the ring championship belt, despite Dariusz Michalczewski still being regarded as the lineal champion in the same weight class. Jones then defeated future world champion Clinton Woods by technical knockout. He performed a song from his CD during his ring entrance. WBA Heavyweight Champion. On March 1, 2003, in Las Vegas, Roy Jones defeated John Ruiz, the man who defeated an aging Evander Holyfield, for the WBA Heavyweight title. Jones officially weighed in at 193 lb and Ruiz at 226 lb. Jones became the first former middleweight title holder to win a heavyweight title in 106 years. Jones also became the first fighter to start his career as a light middleweight and win a heavyweight title. Roy Jones vs. Antonio Tarver. Jones chose to return to the light heavyweight division, and on November 8, 2003 he defeated Antonio Tarver to retain the ring light heavyweight championship and win Tarver's WBC title, as well as the vacant WBA title. Jones appeared a lot weaker after coming back down to the light heavyweight division, losing the muscle he gained for the heavyweight fight seemed to have taken a toll on his aging body and his cat-like reflexes appeared diminished. Jones won by majority decision, the judges giving him €117, €111,116, €112 and €114, €114. Fall from grace, Roy Jones vs. Antonio Tarver 2 and Roy Jones vs. Glenn Johnson. On May 15, 2004, Jones faced Tarver in a rematch. Jones was heavily favored to win, but Tarver knocked him down at 141 of the second round. Jones had won the first round, but in the second, as Jones tried a combination, he was caught by a big counter left hook from Tarver. Jones got on his feet by the count, but for the first time in his career was ruled unable to continue by referee Jane Eddy. On September 25, 2004, Jones attempted to win the IBF light heavyweight title from Glenn Johnson in a match in Memphis, Tennessee. Johnson knocked out Jones 49 seconds into the 9th round. Jones lay on the canvas for 3 minutes after being counted out. Johnson was ahead on all 3 Judd Geiser Euro-1 registered trademark scorecards at the time of the knockout and had landed 118 punches to Jones's 75. Jones used the ring's canvas that night as a billboard for his upcoming rap CD, which came out on November 1. Roy Jones vs. Antonio Tarver 3. After almost a year away from the ring, focusing on training and working as an analyst for HBO Boxing, Jones scheduled a third fight with Antonio Tarver, on October 1, 2005, at the St. Pete Times Forum in Tampa, Florida, which aired on HBO PPV. For only the second time in his career, Jones was considered an underdog going into the fight. Tarver won by unanimous decision. Fallout with HBO. After the loss in the third Tarver bout, Jones resumed his duties as a commentator for HBO World Championship Boxing, calling the Floyd Mayweather-J.R. Shambar Mitchell fight on November 19, 2005 and the Jermaine Taylor-Bernard Hopkins rematch on December 3, 2005. His return to the network was short-lived, as Jones was let go from his ringside analyst role in January 2006. HBO cited his reported lack of commitment to attending the network's production meetings. Comeback trail, back to winning ways. Jones took on Prince Bardielemu on July 29, 2006, at the Kest Arena in Boise, Idaho. Jones defeated Aremu by a unanimous decision, winning the WBO light heavyweight title. Next up for Jones was the undefeated Anthony Hanshaw, on July 14, 2007, at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum in Biloxi, Mississippi. Hanshaw was knocked down in the 11th round. Jones won the bout by unanimous decision. Roy Jones vs. FAR Copyright Licks Trinidad. On January 19, 2008, Jones faced former 147 and 154-pound five-time world champion FAR Copyright Licks Trinidad at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The bout was fought at a catchweight of 170 lbs. Jones had a noticeable size and speed advantage, and in round 7, a short right hand to the temple dropped Trinidad to his knees. Jones fired a combination in the 10th round to send Trinidad down once more. Jones won the fight by scores of 117-109 and 116-110. This was the first time a former heavyweight champion returned to fight successfully at 170 pounds. Roy Jones vs. Joe Calzaghe. After Joe Calzaghe split from promoter Frank Warren, it was officially announced that Roy Jones Jr. and Joe Calzaghe had reached an agreement to fight for the Ring Light Heavyweight Championship in New York City at Madison Square Garden on September 20, 2008 on HBO PPV. However, Calzaghe claimed injury to his right hand in training, so the fight had to be postponed a couple of weeks, with November 8 being set as the new date. Calzaghe was knocked down by an accidental forearm and cut on the bridge of the nose in the first round. Calzaghe resumed control almost immediately and dominated Jones throughout the remainder of the fight. Calzaghe toyed with Jones and mocked him from the center of the ring, daring Jones to try and hit him and then countering with fast combinations. The Welshman opened a cut over Jones' left eye. Jones' corner, who had never seen Roy cut before, didn't know how to properly handle the situation. Blood covered the left side of Jones' face. Ultimately, Jones lost by unanimous decision, winning only one round on the 3 official judges' cards. Recent fights. Jones defeated Omar Sheikha on March 21, 2009, via 5th round technical knockout. Sheikha had previously defeated Glenn Johnson, who had knocked out Jones in 2004. On August 15, 2009, Jones beat former super middleweight champion Jeff Lacey in 10 rounds after Lacey's corner stopped the fight. Lacey had never been knocked out or stopped before. In December 2009, Roy Jones was set to face Australian boxer Danny Green in Sydney, Australia. In the weeks leading up to this fight, there were reports in the newspapers indicating difficulties getting Roy's sparring partners into Australia. Then on December 2, 2009, following an extensive pre-fight delay due to hand-wrap protests, Danny Green defeated Jones in a first-round TKO. Roy Jones vs. Bernard Hopkins 2. Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins met in a rematch bout, on April 3, 2010 in Las Vegas. After going the distance, Hopkins was awarded with a unanimous decision. Roy Jones vs. Denis Lebedov. On May 21, Jones traveled to Russia to face Denis Lebedov, who had just come off a controversial split decision loss to Marco Huck. Weighing in at 198 pounds, Jones looked low and old. Despite this, he gave a decent showing and was heading for at least a majority decision loss at the beginning of the 10th round. However, with less than 20 seconds remaining, Lebedov landed a big right followed by an uppercut. Jones, having bent down holding his head and in no position to continue, was then hit by a final big right hand as Steve Smogger hesitated to stop the fight. Jones lay on the canvas for several minutes before getting up. Roy Jones vs. Max Alexander. Jones won a 10-round unanimous decision against Max Alexander on December 10, 2011 in Atlanta, snapping a 3-match losing streak, and winning the Universal Boxing Organization Intercontinental Cruiserweight Championship. Roy Jones vs. Poirier 1 Kortejewski. Jones was supposed to face Dawid Kostecki in a 10-round bout at Atlas Arena, Poland on June 30. Days before the fight, Kostecki was convicted of being the ringleader of a criminal organization and was thrown in jail. Poya Guy Korteyuski stepped in to fight Jones instead. Jones defeated the 17-0 Guy Korteyuski by split decision. Jones was knocked down in round 6. Many felt Guy Korteyuski deserved the decision in a close fight. Polish TV scored the fight 97-94 for Guy Korteyuski. Roy Jones vs Zinedine Benmurkov. On December 21, 2013, Jones defeated Zinedine Benmurkov by unanimous decision for the vacant WBU cruiserweight title at the Dynamo Palace of Sports in Krylatskoye in Moscow, Russia. The judges scored the bout 120-108, 119-109 and 118-111. Professional boxing record, titles in boxing, major world titles, IBF middleweight champion, IBF super middleweight champion, WBC light heavyweight interim champion, WBC light heavyweight champion, 2, WBC light heavyweight champion, WBA light heavyweight champion, IBF light heavyweight champion, WBA heavyweight champion, 3, WBC light heavyweight champion, 2, WBA light heavyweight champion, minor world titles, WBU cruiserweight champion, IBO light heavyweight champion, NBA light heavyweight champion, WBF light heavyweight champion, IBA light heavyweight champion, IBC light heavyweight champion, the Ring Lineal Championship titles, the Ring light heavyweight champion, regional international titles, WBC Continental Americas super middleweight champion, WBO/NABO light heavyweight champion, 2, WBO/NABO light heavyweight champion, UBO Intercontinental Cruiserweight champion. Personal life. Roy Jones, Jr., was born in Pensacola, Florida, to two very different parents. His mother, Carol, was warm and easygoing, whereas his father, Roy Sr., was much like a Marine drill instructor with respect to his son. A decorated Vietnam veteran, ex-club fighter and retired aircraft engineer who had taken up hog farming, Roy Sr. was hard on his son from early on, taunting the child, sparring with him, enraging Roy Jr., yelling at him and beating the child, often for 20 minutes at a time. This behavior never really changed. If anything, it became more brutal as Roy Jr. grew up. Many people would call the father's treatment out-and-out abuse, but he believed he had a good reason for it, to make Roy Jr. tough enough to be a champion. In this pursuit, he was relentless and Roy Jr. lived in constant fear of his father's verbal and physical violence against him. Jones described his childhood in Sports Illustrated, "After a while I didn't care about getting hurt or dying anymore. I was in pain all day, every day. I was so scared of my father. He'd pull up in his truck and start looking for something I'd done wrong. There was no escape, no excuse, no way out of nothing. Getting hurt or dying might have been better than the life I was living. Used to think about killing myself anyway." Roy Sr. ran his own boxing gym, to which he devoted all his available time and financial resources. He offered direction and useful discipline to numerous youths and steered many of them away from trouble. Roy Sr. did everything possible to expand the program and help more kids. But towards his own son he was merciless, driving Roy Jr. to the brink of exhaustion, screaming at him in front of all the other fighters, assaulting him. Using his birds as an image for his own predicament, Jones said in the same Sports Illustrated piece, "I spent all my life in my dad's cage. I could never be 100% of who I am until I left it. But because of him, nothing bothers me. I'll never face anything stronger and harder than what I already have." Former heavyweight champion George Foreman said Jones hits like a heavyweight and moves like a lightweight. Boxer Montel Griffin, who faced Jones twice at 175 pounds and sparred with Floyd Mayweather Jr. at 140 pounds, said, "Floyd was no comparison as far as speed. Roy was much faster." In 1996, high-frequency boxing's John D. Mayo wrote, "The early evidence points toward the real possibility that Jones is the greatest talent this sport has ever seen. His skill so dwarfs that of his nearest ranked opposition. That providing competitive opponents is a more challenging dilemma than the fights themselves." The expert opinion of Boxing Magazine's editor, Bert Sugar, is provided on Jones' website. He possesses the fastest hands in boxing with lightning-fast moves and explosive power in both hands. After Mike McCallum lost the World Boxing Council light heavyweight crown to Roy Jones in a 1996 unanimous decision, he called Jones the greatest fighter of all time. Awards, Selected Awards, Ring Sports Magazine Euro 1993 Fighter of the Year, 1995 Man of the Year, 1996 Sportsman of the Year. Ring, Boxing Illustrated, and Boxing Scene Magazine as a Euro 1994 Fighter of the Year. International Boxing Federation a Euro 1995 Fighter of the Year and 1995 Fighter of Unlimited Potential. ESPN ESPY Award a Euro 1995 Boxer of the Year. The Sports Network Boxer of the Decade. Boxing Illustrated's Budweiser Ratings, June 1995 onward a Euro Best Pound-for-Pound Fighter in the World. March of Demisa Euro 1995 Honorary Chairman. Co-Euro 1996 Best Pound-for-Pound Fighter in the World and 1996 Best Fighter in the World. Congress of Racial Equality Euro 1996 Outstanding Achievement Award. American Association for the Improvement of Boxing, 1996 Humanitarian of the Year. Boxing 1996 a Euro Best Pound-for-Pound Fighter in the World. Harlem Globetrotters a Euro Honorary Ambassador of Goodwill. Escambia Pensacola Human Relations Commission a Euro 1997 Olive Branch Award, for Humanitarianism. Music career. Jones started his rap music career in 2001 with his album, titled Round 1, the album and the debut single, You All Must Have Forgot. In 2004, Jones formed a group a Euro Bodyhead Bangerts and released an album. The album, Bodyhead Bangerts, Volume 1, featured B.G., Juvenile, Bun B of UGK, Petty Pablo, Lil Flip and Mike Jones among others. Discography, album, with Bodyhead Bangerts, solo singles, 2001, Y'all Must Have Forgot, 2001, and Still, 2009, Battle of the Superpowers, featured singles, 2004, Can't Be Touched, Filmography, The Devil's Advocate, The Wayans Brothers, Rope-a-Dope a Euro Himself, The Matrix Reloaded a Euro Captain Ballard, Enter the Matrix a Euro Captain Ballard, Cordially Invited a Euro Lenny Banks, Universal Soldier, A New Dimension, References. External links, Professional Boxing Record for Roy Jones, Jr. from BoxRec, Roy Jones Jr.'s official blog, roy-jones.net, Roy Jones Jr. Fight-by-Fight Career Record, Boxing Encyclopedia, One Tough Bird a Euro a 1995 Sports Illustrated feature article by Gary Smith.